Hi, I'm Sarah Biggerstaff. This is a channeled message from Mother Mary. It's about humility and what humility really means and how that looks in our lives and what humility means to God. This is one of my personal favorite messages from Mary. It's very applicable in my own life and my own relationships where I feel the need or want to be right about something. This is a very powerful message, so I hope that some part of it resonates with you today. It's called On Humility. Humility as a divine aspect of God comes from a place within us that chooses to stand down from one's own ego, one's own need to be right or in control, and it allows something or someone outside of oneself to take a place of dominance. That could be one's higher power, but it could also be one's partner in a relationship, one's employer, a friend, or anyone else in life who presents as someone who has a word to say over a particular situation or topic. The practice of humility is one that has been long forgotten in this modern age of the world that we live in. It is a practice of going within and choosing a self-discipline to allow the possibility that someone else may be right or have something important to say. Where do you practice humility in your own lives, my children? It is a practice, and when practiced, it is a gift and a skill that is revered by God Himself. For poor is the man who cannot bow to another man, his own kin. But powerful is the man who can stand down and bow before his own kind. People don't realize there is a great power in reverence, and that true power comes from harnessing one's own self. Like an animal that becomes trained to its master, so must we become trained within ourselves. We must be trained with self-discipline to understand that we mustn't always need to be in control. That true power comes from one's ability to regulate oneself, to practice self-discipline, and to stand down in the face of opposition. This is true power, not the other way around. Power over another person is simply an energetic dynamic. It does not mean that one person is right or wrong. It's simply a practice or dynamic that takes place as a means for someone to get what they perceive they want or is best. True humility, my children, is a skill that is revered greatly by God. It is the practice of allowing oneself to not be right and to submit, even when it feels wrong to submit. Followers of God and of Christ readily submit to God, but humans have resistance to submitting to one another. If you can begin to see the power held by having the discipline to go within and admit that you may not always be right, or that another person has the ability to lead regardless of whether they are right or wrong, this is a practice that God reveres as high and holy. This is true power. Where in your lives, dear ones, are you not willing to submit? Where have you taken the stance of a night guard who is unwilling to yield by any possible measure? Where do you hold so strong within yourself that you are unable to see that your strength is actually your weakness? I invite you, dear ones, to reflect on how humility can take an area of your life where you feel weak, and it can make you feel strong. It can empower you to submit to God, regardless of how it may appear on the outside. God is the ultimate one you want to submit to. Your fellow humans are the ones you feel the need to have power over in your lives. But as you submit to your fellow humans, you are ultimately submitting to God, because God is in each of them as well as in yourself. It requires disciplines to submit to something or someone you feel is wrongful or not correct. But I encourage you to reflect on the need to be right versus the need to maintain peace and order in your lives and in your relationships. There is a power in peace itself. The world could use more of this peace. And I encourage you to reflect in your own life where you could use more peace. You may not feel willing to submit to your fellow human at this moment, but are you, dear one, willing to submit to God? I'm demonstrating to you that submitting to your fellow human and submitting to God are not as different as you might imagine. Remember, God is in each of us. We are reflections of God Himself. Humility as a practice can be put into use at any given moment. Take a situation where you feel a power struggle in your life and consider today how you might be able to submit to the other person, even in the smallest way. A small stride in this direction could bring insurmountable peace and resolution. Try this in your lives today, my beloveds. I offer you this advice as a solution to many of your problems, as a means through which you may improve your relationships and experience more peace. Reflect on your need to be right and how this can be offering you the opposite effect than you are seeking. True humility comes from strength in God. Ask God to show you where in your life you can become more humble and thus more like God. Try this in your lives today, beloveds, and see what unfolds. You might be surprised by the peace and serenity that unfolds. I wish this for you. The change begins within you and not outside of you. The change begins with you today. Make this change, beloveds, I urge you today. I send you my blessings for this peace and for this gift and skill from God to behold your life today. Go in peace. Love, Mary.